Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and I'm so sorry I have been missing in action. Work has been working and all that stuff. Life has been lifing, as I always say. Anyway, we are on Love Island All Stars and we are now on episode 9. I am going to do episode 10 straight after, and the hope is to get the next episode in as quick as I can. But we'll see what happens next at the end of the day, because I am going to be away for the weekend. So yeah, belated birthday gift to myself. So we'll see if we're able to get in episode 11 prior to that. But anyway, as I said, we are now on episode 9, and before we talk about this episode, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's get into the fuckery of tonight, shall we? Because this episode and the next episode, both of them are total fuckery. And I always keep saying this is why I like Kaz, because Kaz did not beat around the bush when her and Tyler had a chat at the end of the day. Because Tyler wanted to have that talk with her. She was surprised that he picked her, because at the end of the day, they hadn't spoken for like nigh on 3 years. So, or was it 2 years? No, 2 years. Looking at my notes, it was 2 years. So she was quite surprised and shocked that, you know, that she thought they had something to chat about. But after the conversation that she had with him, I'll go into it a little bit more. She was probably thinking, okay, then I'll give him a little blay, I'll give him a little opening and see what's what at the end of the day. But Tyler just failed at the first hurdle by the end of that night, to be fair. So basically, Kaz basically just told him he was a shit boyfriend. That's literally what she told him. Right, that was her experience of him. She said that he wasn't communicative, and he accepted that, and he agreed with her at the end of the day, but wanted her to know that he did appreciate her. And my thing is if you're in a relationship with someone, show your appreciation for them while you're in that relationship. Why are you gonna wait until you come out and then if you happen to see them, because he was complaining that, you know, she didn't reach out to him, because Kaz is kind of like me, what she done, you're done. That's it. Why is she gonna reach out to you? And vice versa. She said that he didn't reach out to her, but in other episodes or further down in this episode, I think it is, he does explain that actually yes, he was the one that was texting her and he wouldn't get a reply. And Kaz just basically said, that's because I was done. That was it. Our relationship was finished. He wasn't giving her what she was seeking within that union with them together. So that's why she's a bit discombobulated as to why is he opening all of this up now in terms of unfinished business between them, because Kaz is of the view that, you know, the business is finished. Get into the night, you see Libby pull Mitch for a chat, because at first this girl was brooking her argument with this guy, and I thought, yes, carry on as you mean to go on, Libby. But then the girl disappointed me. Hella disappointed me. After all the shit that man made you feel by putting you on the back burner, totally putting you on the back burner, by the way, because this man don't really like you. You're just a placeholder for him, and everybody can see that you're just a placeholder for him. Libby then decides to give Mitch another chance. I'm just like, how many lives does this man have? Like, seriously, how many lives does Mitch have? Because this happened in his season 2. These girls kept giving this man a chance when he was showing them to their face, yeah, and in his actions, that he didn't really like them. They were just a placeholder for him. And the same thing is happening with Libby, but she's there giving him all of this and saying that, you know, I need more actions instead of words. Famous last words, because we've heard that a couple of times in regards to Mitch, and Mitch still has not learned. So Libby will be damn lucky if she thinks this man is going to change again, because it isn't. Because the next hot thing that comes in, yeah, he'll be on it too and saying the same old shit to the next girl, because Mitch ain't going to learn. Mitch ain't going to stop with the mess. That's who he is. That's a part of his DNA. That's how I'm thinking it now. It's a part of his DNA now. That shit ain't going to change, and you ain't going to be able to take it out of him. So all I'm going to say is more for Libby on that one. Like, more for Libby on that one. She needed to make sure she opened herself up to somebody else that comes into that villa, and not just be stuck on Mitch's arse like a barnacle. So then you do see Libby and Kaz having a conversation in regards to Kaz having that conversation with Tyler and what was said and what was going on in there. So Libby then takes it upon herself because, you know, Kaz is her girl at the end of the day and she's going to have her girls back. So Libby took herself over to Tyler and pulled Tyler to one side and basically told him what for. He's saying he's coming in there to figure things out with Kaz, then he needs to treat her like the queen that she is, and he agreed with her. And I'm just kind of like, don't cash promises that your ass cannot keep, Tyler. Like, seriously, don't do that. Really don't do that. And this is what people coming in need to realise as well. If you've come in with a certain agenda, let that agenda out. Like, seriously, let that agenda out. Don't say you come gunning for one person and then you don't do exactly what you said you was going to do, as in Josh with Georgia H at the end of the day. Came in gunning for her solid and then fucked her off when he thought Molly was interested. Right there, sir. Right there, so that's what I mean. So then you see Georgia H and Anton having a discussion, and they're still shocked and surprised that Lewis and Demi ended up leaving. And Anton is right when you say you don't know what's going to happen in this film, and you have to count your days like they're numbered at the end of the day. So Anton is the one that's doing all the talking in the relationship right now between him and Georgia H. I don't know if he's trying to convince himself that they've been getting closer, because they haven't. You can see that they haven't. Well, from Georgia H's side, you can see that she hasn't. She's just literally agreeing with what this man says and what's coming out of his mouth, and she shouldn't do that because she's gonna find herself in an awkward position with Anton, like completely, because Anton's letting it all out there about how close he wants to be with her, and that there's no one else in the villa that he'd rather get to know than her and stuff like that. And then she turns around and says, well, you know, I feel the same way, but it isn't about Josh. And I'm thinking, yeah, it was. Because if Josh had continued to show the interest in you that you was hoping him to show, yeah, you would not have looked in Anton's direction. Let's just put it that way. You put Anton on the back burner for Josh. And those were her words in that sense. So this is turnaround at the end of the day. So they both went in for a kiss, and I have to say it was the most awkward kiss. Like I didn't see no rainbows and rockets from that kiss. I've seen more passionate kisses in the flesh of eels, basically. That did not move me in the slightest. And then it moved on to Molly, and Molly was talking about how she was feeling a bit shit. And I said, and now bear with me with this, yeah. Bear with me with this, because I have a theory. I really do have a little conspiracy theory about Molly, Callum and Georgia S at this moment in time. Because if you see the pattern, yeah, the pattern of behaviours, because you've got Toby who wanted to go chat to Molly, decided to chat to Molly. Molly told him he needed to speak to Georgia S. Georgia S went off half-cocked because, to be fair, she still really cares about Toby. Don't care what anybody says, that girl still has feelings for that man at the end of the day, because she can switch. She can switch pretty quickly, and we see that coming up in the next episode, how quick Georgia S can switch her affections, right? So, bear with me now, yeah? So, Georgia S has got off on one. Next minute, you know, Georgia S wants Callum. Why do you think that is, people? Why do you really think that is? Why does Georgia S now think that Callum is compatible with her, and the fact that Molly sees that, you know, they're cracking on and being compatible with each other? Do you think it might have a little bit of thing to do with Toby being interested in Molly? Like a little bit interested in Molly? We'll keep that nugget in our brains. And then, when you think about it, when Molly starts going for Toby, why do you think Molly went for Toby? Showed no interest in Toby from the get-go. Showed no interest in Toby from the get-go, but all of a sudden now she weren't Toby. Yeah, it's the behaviours for me. It's the behaviours for me. But you see, with Molly wanted Callum to come to her and tell her, I'm not interested in no other girls. All I want is you. She wanted this whole declaration from Callum, and when her game plan didn't work out that way, now she's feeling like shit. Because to be honest, she really didn't want to give the green light to Georgia S. She don't want to see Georgia S and Callum together at the end of the day. She wants to be in Georgia S's spot, and no one's going to tell me anything different. No one is going to tell me anything different from that. That's where Molly wants to be. That's why she's hurting, and that's why she's pissed the hell off, and that's why she's starting to affect the friendship that she kind of had with Georgia S. Because right now, her friendship with Georgia S was it was a persuado friendship. It weren't a real friendship. As soon as Georgia S said that she wanted to start chatting to Callum and getting to know Callum, that was it for Molly. That was it for Molly. But I still think Callum had still a little bit of feeling left over, reserved for Molly at the end of the day, because he liked it when Georgia S came to him and started chatting the business of what happened in the dressing room, where she turned to Molly and said, well, I think it's partly my fault why you're feeling that way. And she was like, it is what it is, and then kind of walked off and didn't say nothing more to her. So Georgia S told Callum that. And then if you clock when Georgia S hugs Callum after that conversation and he says, come here, he's looking out into the distance, and there's a little hint of a grin on his face, a little hint of a cheeky grin on his face, because damn sure that Callum is not finished with Molly and Molly's not finished with Callum. So then from that chat that Georgia S has with Callum, she then goes straight to Toby and has the conversation with Toby, basically saying that Callum came to her and said to her that he could have her on the outside, and that was not how the conversation went down. So Toby saw that it was a little bit snaky of Callum to do that kind of thing and went after Callum basically in front of Georgia S. So Georgia S heard the conversation that went on. So Georgia S heard Callum agree, yes, it wasn't said in that way, but that's how it was meant. And she heard Toby explain, no, this is how it was meant, and how he did and went behind the back of him and said that to Georgia S when it was a private conversation at the end of the day was hella snaky, just because you want to get all up in Georgia S is what Toby said. And Callum said no, that wasn't it at all. But at the end of the day, my thing is if you're going to tell stories outside the circle or outside of school, make sure you get what the person said down correct. Don't go in there with half-truths. Don't go in there with full-on lies. Don't go in there with a different context to the conversation that you had, because you know it's going to fuck everything up in the long run anyway. You know it's going to come to light at the end of the day. So Callum should have told Georgia S the correct way how Toby meant what he said, but he didn't. And it caused this full-on issue, and Toby just literally just lambasted in and then just walked off and said he's going to be wary of Callum saying anything in front of Callum from now on. From here on out, he will only say certain things to certain people, and he'll expect that it doesn't reach far and wide. And if it does, quote me correctly. And I agree with him. And I also agree with the fact that Tyler was backing Toby, because I agreed with Toby at the end of the day. Anton needed to keep his mouth shut, because Anton didn't know the dynamics or how that conversation went, because Anton wasn't necessarily there at that point. But I like the fact that Tyler literally stuck up for Toby, as if to say, well, because of the fact how she came out and she was hurt by what the comment was said and it made her feel away, that's what Toby is saying. Don't say things if you don't quote correctly within the context it was meant in, because all it does is hurt the person that they were talking about at the end of the day, and it can look kind of like hella shady. So then we get to the next day, and I'm starting to see some problems afoot for Anton and Georgia H, because Georgia H is downplaying everything with Anton and saying she's not feeling him in that sense. And I know in the next episode, when we get to it, that she actually says that she's starting to get the ick with Anton. But Anton is singing Georgia H's praises on where the relationship is, that their kiss was brilliant, and no, he's gonna get such a smack in the face when this truth comes out. Like, honestly, he needs to hella start reading some signs into how Georgia H is behaving with him, because what he thinks is happening is not happening at all. So Callum has pulled Molly for a chat and basically having the discussion about how it's not plain sailing with them being an ex-couple in there. And and then Molly starts like crying, like she gets really upset and believes that Callum has led her on, and he hasn't shown or tried, because he came in there saying that he wanted to give their relationship a try again, and she didn't see him trying or nothing like that. And then when he's trying to tell her, but at the end of the day, I was trying, you wouldn't even come and pull me for talks or nothing, because you weren't saying where your thoughts were. Yeah, it just didn't happen that way. So when she got really hella upset, like, he then asked her if he wants Arabella to come up and chat to her, and she was like, yeah. And then she's telling Arabella and the girls all this guff, and I'm just like, Molly, seriously, where is your head at? Where is your head at? Because even the lads seen how much Callum was doing in order to regain your interest, in order to speak to you, in order to rekindle whatever it is that you both had lost, to talk about your situation in a proper diplomatic way. But you didn't speak to him, you didn't do anything, you didn't try anything. And at the end of the day, wasn't it Molly that was kissing off Chris? Wasn't it Molly that was kissing off Chris? Callum weren't touching nobody, but now he's starting to have an interest in Georgia S. All of Molly's issues are starting to come to the forefront, because she's not coping with that in the slightest, because she wants Callum. And this is what I said in the beginning. It's all the behaviours that are playing out because she wants Callum. And that's the only reason why I'm going to say Molly is going in hard for Toby right now, because she knows that it will piss off Georgia S. And now probably, because I'm going to talk about it more in the next episode, with this new guy coming in, Tom, because apparently Tom and Georgia S have a little bit of history, and Georgia S is literally looking like she really likes this man more so than Callum at the end of the day, and she's having that connection with him. He likes Molly too. You know Molly's gonna come in and fuck that shit up. She ain't gonna let Georgia S have that win. Are you mad? So a text comes in. Arabella and Chris go on their first date. Don't really need to talk about it because nothing eventful really happens. And then up in the villa, you see Georgia S and Callum having a chat. Basically, Callum is telling her in terms of what happened with Molly. And Callum is basically reassuring Georgia S, saying that it is really done between the both of them. And Georgia S said, well, if that was the case, then she would remove herself, like, if he started to speak to her again. And I was like, but what would be the point? What would be the point at the end of the day? Yes, she doesn't want to get into like a couple situation in that sense, but then you have those conversations with people. At the end of the day, you said you were interested in Callum, and it's like the same thing, the same behaviour that you showed with Toby when you jumped all over him and was hella into Toby, and then when you realised Toby wasn't as much into you as you were into him, you then turned your attentions to Callum, and now you're doing the same thing there, where you're very much falling into that same old pattern of wanting to be all over the guy and not necessarily realising that, you know what, used to ain't in nothing yet. It's only early days for you two. So now we see Hannah's got an interest. At last, Hannah has got an interest, and it is Tyler. And I think that feeling is a mutual. So we'll see what happens from here on out. And then you see Georgia S and Toby having a chat, because Georgia S decided to go over and, you know, mess with Toby's equilibrium. Even though he was just like chilling, he weren't doing nothing more than just chilling. She decided that she had to go and try and create a little bit of drama with this guy. Again, he doesn't know if it'd be plain sailing, and that it's kind of weird between them now. And she was talking about how the conversation with Callum happened and the way it was delivered, it was hurtful, and Toby understood that. But at the end of the day, what she's failing to realise is what Callum fed to her was not what Toby actually said. So she's failing to realise that. She turned around and she said, oh, well, I feel like you don't care, to Toby. And I'm like, hold on a minute, Georgia S. Wasn't it Toby who actually stood up and went for Callum because you were hurt by the comment that was said. So how can you turn around and say that he don't really care? Then we get to the night time, around by the fire pit, and it's the games, it's the challenges. I'm telling you, these games pull things out of people. So the game was basically someone had to pick a balloon, choose someone of the opposite sex basically within the group, and use a sexually suggestive move in order to pop the balloon and then do the dare that they need to. As I said, these games always seem to pull things out of people that you don't expect. Chris then had to pick an islander of the opposite sex who was not his partner and give them a striptease. So basically Chris started to striptease for everybody, but when he did the lap dance thing, he goes to Kaz, and I was like, okay. And then on top of that, the man kissed Kaz. The man just fully put the mac on Kaz. But Arabella was fine with all of that because she knew it was just a game. At the end of the day, it didn't bother her in the slightest, even though her and Chris had shared steamy kisses. And let's put it this way, when Chris and her shared their kiss, I was like, Chris does look like a good kisser though, to be fair. From all the kisses that I've seen so far, Chris and Arabella's has been the best, and now Chris and Kaz has been the best. And Tyler had to snog the islander who he believed really fancied him. So Tyler picked Kaz, and I was quite surprised by that because Hannah's been giving a little bit of interest there to Tyler as well. So I was surprised he didn't go and kiss Hannah in the game just to give that inkling that, you know, I actually do like somebody else besides Kaz up in here. But he didn't do that. Arabella had to snog the two boys that you fancy the most in the villa. So Arabella kissed Chris and she kissed Toby. And I was like, okay, that kind of shocked me because it didn't seem as though them two were going to get anywhere in terms of the history that they shared and take that any further, especially when Arabella had picked Chris. So I was like, okay, that did kind of shock me still. Georgia S looked hella embarrassed. Georgia S didn't know where to look when she went for Toby, and I was like, oh, you see that you see you have to watch out for the little looks that they give every time the camera pans back. You have to watch out for the little looks that they give. Kaz, and then she had, which couple do you think has the lasting potential for a relationship and which has the least potential? So for the most potential, she picked Chris and Arabella. And I thought, here it goes. Mitch was already fixing his face to try and say something, but he didn't. And then the least potential was Hannah and Anton. And I thought that was lazy. That was a lazy pick and a cop-out because I would have picked Libby and Mitch, to be fair. Because they have the least potential out of all of them to work out. Because everybody knows Hannah and Anton are just friends up in there. They ain't together like that. Anton is very much interested in Georgia H, and everybody knows that. So, me being me, as her best mate, I would have turned and went and said, I'm sorry, Libs, and picked Libby and Mitch, all because Mitch is messy and Mitch don't know what the hell he wants. So, Mitch, and he got fake an orgasm in the ear of an islander you would like to spend the night with. I thought, my God, you better pick Libby. You better pick Libby, because I had a feeling he was going to pick one of the other girls. But then he did do it to Libby, and I thought, oh my Lord, he sounds like one of the guys that you get that pressing heavy in the gym and making them gym sounds. That's what Mitch sounded like. So Arabella did say something about, oh God, if he was a guy breathing like that down my ear or such and such. And Mitch just went off on Arabella, and I was like, okay, Mitch, cool your jets, because Arabella was having a laugh and a joke and you just took it somewhere else. And Hannah kissed Tyler, and Josh, it said, give most passionate kiss to the islander who turns you on the most. Josh went to Molly, and Callum was just sitting back there, and he was like, well, what can I say at the end of the day? So Georgia S picked Callum and said, and then it was snog the islander you think is boyfriend material. And of course, Georgia S will go and pick Callum. Of course she would. And Molly was not looking comfortable with that either. It's the looks. It's the looks each one of them keep giving each other when this shit goes down. And then Callum had his, and it says, snog the islander you think is girlfriend material. So I already knew he was going to kiss Georgia S. But then Mitch shouted out to him before he even stepped that way, "Don't you think it's Molly?" And I'm thinking, well, you must have thought it was Molly at some point because you was with that girl for 3 years. So it was hit and miss there. He could have picked Molly at the end of the day. But that was Mitch being messy all over again. So Callum kisses Georgia S and Molly sure as hell didn't like it. So Toby had to pick which of the 3 islanders would make the perfect partner, and it was Snug one for the face, one for the body, and one for the personality. So Molly, he went first with the face. Georgia S's face did not look happy with it, and Callum was just looking on. I keep telling you, it's the looks that you gotta keep looking at. These people keep giving each other when they're playing their games. And body yaddy was Kaz, because she does have the body, and the personality he picked was Arabella. And you know what? I'm glad he didn't pick Georgia S. Like, I'm really glad he did not pick Georgia S at the end of the day. So Molly had to then snug the islander you would most like to spend the night in the hideaway with. I was kind of thinking to F Georgia S off, she might have picked Callum. But she didn't. She picked Toby. So she was kissing his face off, and Callum and Georgia S were just looking on while everybody was like, whoa. Callum and Georgia S were... I'm telling you, these people are playing. These people are playing in their faces, and I think it's all fun and games. Really think it's all fun and games. So then Anton had to demonstrate 3 sex positions with one of the islanders, and he picked Kaz, and he did all 3 with Kaz. I'm just like, is there something in the water? Everybody's picking Kaz tonight, you know what I'm saying? So Arabella had to then pick which islander is most likely to talk behind your back. And she picked Mitch. And then she kind of kissed him, not a full like kiss, not one of those. It was just kind of like a pecky peck kiss. And I'm like, yeah, because it's true. She did give her reasons why she picked Mitch, but I'm like, it is true at the end of the day. So Toby then had to snog the islander whose clothes you would like to rip off. And he chose Molly again. And I says, Toby did not come to play at all. Toby did not come to play. He's putting his game out there. So Mitch basically had to pick which islander you think is most loyal and which is the least. Most loyal, he picked Toby. And the least, he picked Arabella. But he did on purpose, because Arabella picked him about who would be the islander most likely to chat behind your back. And it is Mitch. She weren't telling no lies on that. So basically then Mitch is saying, oh, it's just a game, it's just a game. And then people had to question him. Well, if you're thinking about who's the most loyal, why would you not pick the person that you're with, Liberty? Because she's been loyal to you to a fault at the end of the day. And this is the thing with Mitch. He doesn't think. He picked Toby because Toby's his boy. So in other words, he's telling people that his boy will come before any gal that he's with. And I'm telling you, Liberty is just a placeholder for him, and if she can't see it by now, then there's no helping her. And people trumping up and speaking on her behalf don't help things either. So then some stuff happened, and Arabella and Mitch went into it at the end of the day. Arabella basically told Mitch about himself, about how he's not loyal to nobody because he was chatting to her and making chats to her while he was in a situation with Liberty. Now again, every time Mitch claps at someone, they have the goods to clap back, and Mitch still has not learned to keep his mouth shut at certain points in this game. Like, seriously not, because each time you speak to a girl, Mitch, they're storing that up. He doesn't realise they're storing that up. So if you come for them, they've got the goodies on you. No matter that it hurts Liberty at the time when they do it, because you could have had the chat with Liberty to say, you know what, this is what he's been saying to me, this is what he's been doing with me while you are both in this type of situationship. Why wait until a game when someone makes a dig at you then to say it? Because then that makes Liberty look stupid at the end of the day for trusting this man all over again. But hey ho, and that is where it ends. And we do know that 2 new bombshells will be coming into play in this little game. But as again, my renegades, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm back on a new video. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.